around I wasn't in alignment with. This is gonna be so cool. But I can be that with Jen and Blair. And it's so empowering to just be able to be me. Like I can laugh and I can decorate, and who I am as a person is celebrated and appreciated.
And our next project. I'm so excited we're starting another one.
Oh my gosh,
this is so much fun.
For decades,
Blair
Meri
and
Brown
Jen
lived in
are
the
over-
shadows of a marriage that was already broken. She poured herself into Kody's endless demands, clung to a love that had withered, and held on to a dream of family that was crumbling before her eyes. Fans watched her wait, year after year, for scraps of attention, only to be met with cold indifference and humiliating rejection. But now, that chapter is closed. Meri is stepping into a new life, her life, free from Kody's grip, free from the weight of a love that never loved her back, and the transformation is breathtaking. She's rediscovering joy, leaning on real friends who see her worth, and learning that independence isn't lonely, it's liberating. After decades of silence, Meri is laughing, dancing, and creating a space that reflects her, not him. It's a story of survival, yes, but more than that, it's a story of rebirth. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, and welcome back to TLC Sister Wives Daily. Today, we're diving deep into Meri's incredible journey, how she broke free, what she's building in Utah, and why her story has fans cheering louder than ever. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share your thoughts in the comments, because trust me, this is one journey you don't want to miss. Meri Brown's marriage didn't end with one big fight, a signed piece of paper, or even a single dramatic moment. It ended slowly, painfully, over years of mixed signals, broken promises, and silence that cut deeper than any argument ever could. For the longest time, Meri tried to make sense of Kody's constant shifting, one day dangling a hint of hope, the next pulling it away with a cold, dismissive word. He told her to be patient, to work on herself, to give him space, but every demand only pushed her further into loneliness. What made it worse was that Meri kept bending, reshaping herself to fit whatever version of a wife Kody wanted that week. She shouldered the weight of keeping the family dream alive, convinced that if she just endured a little longer, maybe he would see her again. But in reality, Kody had already checked out, and fans could see it. His favoritism toward Robyn was blatant, his neglect of Meri undeniable. And yet Meri held on, clinging to survival in a marriage that no longer existed. The heartbreaking truth is that Meri was living a single life long before the divorce was ever official. She celebrated birthdays alone, decorated holidays without him, and sat through family gatherings as though invisible. Polygamy had promised unity, but for Meri, it became isolation. She realized that what she called marriage was really just surviving rejection, surviving disappointment, surviving in a system where love was never equal, and then came the shift. Meri finally saw that survival is not the same as happiness. Survival is about enduring, but happiness is about living. It's about joy, laughter, love that doesn't ask you to prove your worth every single day. That realization broke something open inside her. She no longer needed Kody's approval to define her. She didn't need the family dream to give her value. She had already been surviving on her own for years. Now, it was time to live for herself. Meri's story in this moment is more than a marriage unraveling. It's about a woman discovering that selfhood is stronger than sacrifice, and that true happiness only begins when survival ends. When Meri finally found her voice, it wasn't because Kody handed her permission, it was because she realized he had already left her behind. Long before his public admissions, long before he finally said the marriage was over, Meri had been living in that truth. The difference was that she hadn't yet spoken it out loud. Once she did, once she acknowledged that Kody had emotionally abandoned her years ago, the power dynamic shifted. Suddenly, she wasn't waiting on him to decide her fate, she was deciding her own. Fans remember Kody's so-called lists of conditions he placed on Meri. They were endless, unfair, and frankly cruel. He wanted her to change her personality, adjust her behavior, prove her loyalty, and demonstrate, over and over, that she was worthy of his attention. Every hoop she jumped through only seemed to move the finish line farther away. And yet, Meri tried. She tried for years, thinking that if she could just check off every item, Kody might come back to her. But when she did, when she gave all of herself, he discarded her anyway, as though none of it mattered. That's where the manipulation lies. In plural marriage, the weight often falls on women to adapt, to sacrifice, to endure in silence. Kody played that system to his advantage, shifting the goalposts whenever it suited him. And while he propped up Robyn as his perfect partner, he used Meri's hope against her, keeping her trapped in emotional limbo. It was less about love, and more about control, but Meri's strength came in seeing the game for what it was. Once she recognized that nothing she could do would ever make Kody choose her, the illusion broke. His words, his lists, his demands, they no longer held power. By stepping out of that cycle, she wasn't just leaving a man, she was leaving behind years of manipulation and emotional bondage. Her decision to reclaim her voice is bigger than her own marriage, it exposes the darker undercurrent of polygamy itself. A system that promises unity but often thrives on women competing for crumbs of affection. Meri's choice to step away isn't just about her independence, it's a rejection of that imbalance. She showed fans that even after decades of being silenced, a woman can still stand up and say, enough. When Meri moved into her new home in Utah, it wasn't just about changing her address, it was about reclaiming her identity. After decades of living under Kody's rules, in houses that never really felt like hers, Meri finally had a space she could shape entirely on her own. And she wasted no time turning those walls into something more than shelter. They became a reflection of freedom. Fans were struck by how much joy she found in the smallest details, decorating rooms, picking out colors that made her smile, and arranging furniture in ways that spoke to her taste, not anyone else's approval. Each corner she touched was a declaration that this house was truly hers. Holidays, once clouded with family tension, are now vibrant celebrations. She throws open her doors, hosts dinners, fills her home with laughter, and for the first time in years, you can see Meri living rather than simply surviving. The symbolism of her choices says it all. She tossed out furniture that reminded her of a broken marriage, refusing to let those ghosts take up space in her fresh start. Yet, she carefully held on to pieces with family history, honoring the parts of her past that mattered without letting the pain define her future. It's a balance, grieving what was lost while embracing what remains, and she hasn't been doing it alone. Friends like Jen and Blair have become her anchors in this new chapter. They're not just companions, they're her safe space, the people who see her for who she truly is, without judgment or conditions. With them, Meri laughs freely, shares openly, and feels supported in ways she never experienced in her marriage. That friendship has been a powerful reminder that family isn't always about blood or titles, it's about connection and authenticity. This new home, this new rhythm of life, isn't just a house full of furniture and decorations, it's a living symbol of Meri's rebirth. Every party she throws, every memory she creates there, is proof that she's no longer defined by Kody's neglect. She's building a life that's entire. Her own, and fans can't help but cheer her on. One of the most powerful shifts in Meri's story has been the way she's leaned into friendship. After decades of existing in a family where her feelings were dismissed or outright ignored, she's found a new kind of belonging in the people who truly see her. Jen and Blair, especially, have become pillars in her life. They know what it means to walk away from a life shaped by polygamy, where your worth is measured by how much you sacrifice, and where your voice is drowned out by louder, more favored wives. With them, Meri doesn't have to beg to be heard, she just is. The contrast to the Brown family is heartbreaking but undeniable. How many years did Meri sit in silence, waiting for Kody, or even one of the other wives, to ask how she was holding up? That question rarely came. In fact, her needs were often brushed aside, treated like a burden. Even when her marriage was at its lowest, the family's focus seemed to be everywhere but on her pain. That kind of neglect leaves scars, but with Jen and Blair, the weight has lifted. These friendships aren't about obligation or appearances, they're about authenticity. They laugh together, tease each other, share meals, and support one another through the hard moments. For Meri, that laughter has been healing. You can see the difference when she's around them. The guardedness falls away, replaced by joy that feels unforced and genuine, and this is where Meri's confidence has started to rebuild. Friendship has given her the space to remember who she is outside of being Kody's first wife. She's not defined by rejection anymore, she's defined by the love and support of people who actually want her to thrive. Fans notice it too. The Meri we see today is bolder, freer, and more comfortable in her own skin than we've ever seen on screen. Her story reminds us that family doesn't always show up the way you hope. Sometimes, the people you thought would stand beside you don't. But there are others, friends who become chosen family, who fill that gap with kindness, laughter, and unwavering support. And for Meri, that difference has been life-changing. One of the rawest parts of Meri's journey has been her willingness to speak openly about the role faith played in shaping her silence. Growing up in a religious world that glorified polygamy, she was taught early on that her voice should be small, her needs should be secondary, and her value came from sacrifice. That belief system drilled fear and self-denial so deeply into her that even when Kody treated her with coldness, she still clung to the idea that enduring quietly was somehow holy. But Meri has begun to strip those old lessons apart. She said plainly that religion trained her to tolerate pain rather than question it. And when you look at her life, it's clear how long that mindset kept her stuck. Her reflections on polygamy are even more striking. Meri admits she never saw it work in a way that created lasting joy. What she experienced instead was constant survival mode, a treadmill of trying to please Kody, trying to hold on to family unity, and trying to convince herself that this principle would one day lead to blessings. But that treadmill never stopped. It only drained her spirit, replacing happiness with exhaustion, and here's where her perspective links with Christine's and Janelle's. Christine spoke often about the loneliness of being unseen. Janelle was blunt about realizing she had been functioning as a single parent for decades. Their choices to leave mirror Meri's journey, each of them reaching the painful but liberating clarity that polygamy demanded too much and gave too little in return. Shared pain built a shared truth. This system didn't nurture love, it crushed it. What makes Meri's reflections so powerful is the way she's naming what she once wouldn't dare say aloud, that the faith she was raised in never gave her joy, only the pressure to endure. And in speaking those truths, she's found a kind of healing. Healing. Not just from Kody's neglect, but from the spiritual weight that kept her chained in place. Today, her path isn't about defending a belief system or clinging to a family structure that failed her. It's about untangling herself from the silence that religion demanded and finding her own voice at last. That's the emotional freedom Meri carries now, and it shows in every step she takes forward. After decades of being tied down by Kody's rules, Meri is finally stepping into a season of openness and possibility. For so long, the idea of dating again felt impossible. How could she imagine love when her confidence had been chipped away year after year? But now, Meri talks about it with a kind of playful curiosity. She laughs about what she might want in a partner, about enjoying companionship again, and most importantly, about not settling for anything less than genuine connection. It's not about rushing into romance. It's about refusing to live the rest of her life in loneliness. Meri knows she deserves more than being an afterthought, and she's open to finding someone who truly sees her. At the same time, Meri's been navigating another deeply personal decision: what to do with her mother's beloved bed and breakfast in Utah. For her, it isn't just a business. It's a living memory of her mom, a legacy of strength and hospitality. But Meri has admitted she's weighing her options carefully. Does she continue to run it the way her mom did? Or does she reshape it into something new that reflects her own dreams? That question captures exactly where she is in life, honoring the past but refusing to be limited by it. What's so inspiring about Meri right now is her balance. She isn't naive, she knows healing takes time, that independence can feel heavy, and that building a new life won't always be easy. But her spirit has shifted. Where there was once only survival and silence, now there's laughter, hope, and a determination to embrace possibility. Meri's story isn't ending with heartbreak or loss. It's opening into something brighter, something real. She's not finished, she's just beginning to live authentically. And for the first time in decades, Meri is writing her own story, on her own terms. That's worth celebrating. Meri's journey is nothing short of courageous. For years, she carried the heavy weight of silence, rejection, and living in the shadows of a man who never truly valued her. And yet, instead of letting that pain define her, she's using it as fuel to grow, to rediscover herself, and to step boldly into a future of her own design. What we're witnessing is not just Meri moving on from Kody, it's Meri finally moving into herself. The question now is, do you think Meri will find lasting happiness outside of Kody's shadow? Will her openness to love, her faith in herself, and her new independence finally bring her the joy she deserves? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so be sure to share them in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me in today's deep dive into Meri's transformation. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give it a like, and join the conversation here on the channel. Until next time, this is Sarah from TLC Sister Wives Daily. See you in the next one.